Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really excited to have you all here to learn more about scaling your business on the Salesforce platform. I'm Meredith Finn, Director at Salesforce Ventures, and really excited to be joined by Ron and Rod, who are platform veterans, to share best practices with us on how to build and grow your company on the platform. So it would be great just to, before we get started, to sort of learn from the audience who is currently an ISV today, or is anyone built on the platform today? Awesome. Who's learning about the platform for the first time and really just evaluating it, for potentially a new business? Great. Awesome. Helpful context for us to have. We'll have time at the end for some Q&A as well, hopefully. So feel free to write down some questions as we move along, and we'll give you some time to hopefully ask them. So we'd love to sort of get started by just sort of asking Ron and Rod to give a little bit of background on how and when they started working with the Salesforce platform, and what their history has been, how they've sort of seen the platform evolve over time, to just set some context for the rest of the discussion.
Great. So I'm Rod Butters. I'm Chief Technology CTO. That's easier. Of Canandy, and in charge of products and services for the company. I joined the company clear back on day one, and literally was part of the company when we launched September 1st of 2011. It's been an interesting adventure being on the platform. When we started with the platform, the thing that really was exciting about it was the fact that we could get to this model of clicks, not code, that it was an environment where we could really focus on what I tend to call today a model of you put your code here. I like this idea that a developer can just find a place and put the code in, and as soon as they do it, it works. And that's so different from many other types of infrastructure where there's a lot of steps to go to actually get your code into a place where it actually works in the environment. So that whole speed, that whole development environment. But probably more interesting to me has been the fact that as we started, we said, okay, we do ERP on the cloud. And when we started, we said, hey, this would be cool because we'll have an ERP in the cloud, and it'll be cool because you don't have to worry about hardware and software and blah, blah, blah. That's really great. What we found, the more experience we built with the platform, was that it was not just an opportunity to have a cloud ERP. It's been an opportunity to actually build a better ERP. And there's a lot of things that we've done that I think has really allowed us to be really innovative by being on the cloud. One of the things I get to do once every month is that we have a group of partners that do implementations for us. They come in every month, and one of the really fun things I get to do is talk to them for an hour about what we've learned in terms of how to really leverage the cloud to do what we think is better enterprise software than has ever been built before. And right next to me is the guy that introduced me to the cloud and Salesforce.
Well, thanks, Rod. I the only thing I like talking about, the only thing I like better than talking about myself is talking about the Salesforce platform. So I'll just go back in time a little bit. I started about 15 years ago, and I built an Excel connector on the Salesforce platform using the very first version of the API, the 1.0. It was a Microsoft Visual Basic connector. So from that, I got involved with the entire Salesforce community, and I realized there's really a future here for me. So I focused a little bit more on that on my next job, and finally ended up working at Salesforce for several years. I worked in a couple of different groups, platform group, evangelist group, and then I left to join Canandy. So I spent several years at Canandy helping Rod build an ERP platform on top of the Salesforce platform. So it's a very powerful experience, and I graduated to the point where I decided I can build an enterprise app, and I quit my job and founded a company. So Propel PLM is a small company that's growing on the platform. So it's an exciting journey, and I'd love to tell you a little bit more about it as well. So we're here partly to build a discussion, but I definitely have a call to action as well. So
Yep. Great. Well, thank you both so much for that introduction. Obviously, you can see we're dealing with two platform veterans who have a lot of great insight to bring to the table today. So it would be great to sort of start off, in discussing the platform. A lot of times we tout the ability to, quickly scale the security features of the platform and how that enables you to sort of get into large customers quickly. It would be great to sort of hear, based upon both of your experiences, how you've been able to sort of leverage some of those aspects of the platform as an advantage in building your businesses.
Okay. So one of the things that I always like to start with with respect to the platform is one of the coolest things I still think the platform gives you is just an absolutely phenomenal database. It's a database that nobody can mess up because it's totally insulated. You don't get to touch the database. It's there entirely for you. It's a database that's ready to go from the moment you provision an org and ready to scale up to whatever you need to. One of the amazing things that we've been able to do as we've built our enterprise application is we've been able to service a $2.5 billion revenue CPG company and manage their volume of transactions on that on a day out and day out basis. I think that's kind of remarkable in some right. Today, there's been a number of times where I've claimed, hey, nobody's had a true multi-tenant cloud ERP that has run a $2 billion plus revenue company ever, and no one's ever challenged me on that. And it's really about the Salesforce platform that allowed us to do that in that scale. The other thing that I think is even more remarkable about it is that as we've learned how to leverage the power of a truly world-class database deployment, we've learned not only how to use it, but we've learned how to abuse it. And I know that's an interesting concept, but we do things with the database all the time that if you had an on-prem solution or even if you had some of these other types of cloud solutions, you would kill it with the kinds of things that we do with it on a routine basis. So I know that Supriya's smiling because she knows some of the stuff that we do to this thing. But one of the things that's been a success for us in this regard has been our MRP calculation. Most people think of MRP on an ERP as something that runs over the weekend at best. And you're lucky if it's done by Sunday morning or even Monday morning so you can do something. By leveraging the cloud, by leveraging the database, by leveraging Heroku as part of this, we have an MRP that basically runs in minutes for even the largest deployment that we've been able to do. And not only that, this is what's really cool. If like 5, 6, 7 people all wanted to run MRP at the same time, the system wouldn't care. They'd all run at the same time. Nobody'd get locked out. Nobody'd get blocked. That's pretty cool. So the tip, I'd like to throw in a tip at this point. It's like when you think about building applications on this platform, really think about how you can leverage the benefit of having that amazing world-class scalable resource to think about how you can better write your app. Because one of the things it's done for us is it's allowed us to actually deliver more functionality with less code as a result of thinking about how to leverage that.
Fantastic.
All right. I have a little story about leverage as well. So we have one user experience designer on our team, small team, but Salesforce has hundreds, and they've built the Lightning design system. And so with all of that experience and tried and true design work, we're able to leverage that on all of our modules, all of our pages, and we're able to look like we have a completely fleshed out, fully professional design team, when really we're just leveraging all the work that Salesforce has done in the Lightning design system. So it really makes us look big. People say, wow, how many people in your company? 100? And the answer is no, it's not 100 people in my company. We're much smaller than that. So it really does, having the platform really does make us look much bigger than we are.
And what about security? How has that sort of enabled you to win big customers, and also sort of scale your businesses from day one?
I'm glad you brought that topic up. That has been a real interesting and eye-opener to me over the last 6 years that we've been doing this. Compliance, security, all these kinds of things have become top of mind and really requirements for public companies, large companies. And I don't know if you've seen this personally, but every time we go in to sell to anything that's public, anything that's over $1 billion in revenue, we get this massive questionnaire that goes over every aspect of, you've seen this, massive questionnaire that you have to fill out to go through all the security considerations that you have to do. Well, this is like the magic go directly to go, collect $200, move on for us, because we basically answer to most of those questions. The Salesforce platform handles it. The App Cloud handles it. Salesforce Tech Ops handles this, and all these different things. And whether it's security from the outside in terms of something coming in, or security inside, where a lot of these questionnaires actually spend most of their time and energy. How are you securing this from the employees? How are you managing separation of duties? How are you managing access to data? And literally the only thing that we've had to do is go through our software development lifecycle, go through our SOC 2 Type 2 audit. And it really was very simple. And as a matter of fact, when we brought in our auditors and they looked at what we were doing and looked at how we did things, they were like blown away. They just said, this is the easiest audit that we've ever had to do. You guys are the easiest to work with because you've got this great platform, you've got all these things in place, and it really was a great process. And if I was going to give a tip, we did all this back before DX, and it was harder to do our SDLC without DX. There's a lot of stuff, fool's nodding his head. There's a lot of stuff we've had to go through to make that work. And with DX, it definitely is going to create better tools for being able to create your SDLC and manage that process.
Yeah, we, as a 2-year-old company, we wouldn't have an opportunity to talk to large customers like Cisco or Airbus without having been based on the platform. So the selection of the platform really does solve a lot of those concerns going in. It gives our investors confidence that they're going to put their money in a company that's built on security, and that it takes the burden of DevOps away from me. So I can focus on building my enterprise app, not on standing my machines up. So that's just 2 more points of leverage that I don't have to worry about, and I can focus on delivering the value.
Great. And then we're constantly, obviously, investing from a Salesforce perspective in the platform, adding functionality and features. Obviously, the addition of Einstein, in particular, has been incredible value add. It would be great to sort of hear from you both how you've been able to leverage some of those innovations to enable your teams to move faster.
Yeah, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll start off. Now, Einstein is a big call to action. I'm sure everyone here knows. I've built an app. It doesn't use Einstein yet. What am I waiting for? I need to integrate the intelligence of the platform with my app so that I can deliver a transformative value to my customer. Once I do that, they won't be able to take their app anywhere else. I compete with an Oracle product. Oracle doesn't have an AI integrated platform. I'm going to leverage all of that I can. We do product lifecycle management, and so I want to integrate information from third-party sellers, vendors and sellers, so that I can tell you when you're building a product with the Propel app that this part is cheaper and is available from a different supplier. These different suppliers all make this similar part. Why don't you consider them as well? So I want to bring that into my app, and once I do, my app's going to be very sticky. Salesforce is spending a tremendous amount of money in R&D and marketing for Einstein. Why would I not use that? So that's my next call to action. I need to get that into my app right away.
So there's one person in the audience here that can't believe he's not jumping out of his chair right now. Because here's another thing that's cool about the platform. It's like, as developers, we get access to all the tools. And so nobody in my team has to come to me and ask for permission. Hey, can I go get this tool so I could go do this cool new thing? And Fool grabs me along with Kamal and says, hey, we're thinking about doing a presentation at Dreamforce. What do you think? And they actually showed Einstein integrated with our app and being able to take orders and recommend products. So here it is. Nobody had to come to me and say, hey, I've got to buy this $50,000 or $100,000 license or go through all this process or sign up for all this stuff to be able to do this. They basically came by and they said, hey, we got it working. What do you think? So, I mean, that's another very cool thing about being on this platform, being in this environment. We just get this amazing amount of capabilities and research and tools, and it's all right at our fingertips, and nobody has to ask anybody to go do that. So,
yeah, I have just one more. We're fighting to win a big deal, and the customer comes last minute with a new requirement. And I turn to my product manager and I say, you've got to build this with Flow and the visual process builder. And I'll help you, but you got to get started. And we were able to deliver that demo the next day. And that you can't do that without the leverage of the platform already there waiting to deliver value to your customers. So that was a very exciting day.
Fantastic. Thanks.
do you think we like this stuff?
They're just a little bit passionate. It's great. It's great. Well, we've obviously got a few people in the crowd who are really evaluating the platform for the first time and just sort of thinking about building, their first product or application on the platform. What would be some tips that you would give to those individuals in terms of best practices, from the beginning?
So, if anybody here who's here has heard me talk a number of times, they know what I'm going to lead with. And that is that I would say more than anything else, the first thing to do is to make sure you really think and understand about how SOCO works, how S-objects work, how the data model works. You got to understand that from the get-go because it is a different platform. And the great thing about it is it scales like there's nobody's business. The downside is if you don't really embrace the information model that's in the platform and how to develop for that, you're going to lose. And we've seen people, Ron and I have both seen people who have gone off and they say, well, I know how this app works and I know what my schema is and I know how to do this, and they go and they effectively port that over to this environment. It does not go well. And what's amazing is that by taking the time to really understand how the platform works, understand how to really build things with a lookup-based model, how to really manage that within this system, we've built an ERP with about 150 core tables, and by doing that, we get the leverage, we get the throughput. We've been able to deliver a system that even at that very large scale basically runs completely contention-free. Nobody has table locks or anything like that when they're trying to get into the system. That's pretty amazing. If I was to contrast that with traditional ERP, I don't know if people have ever looked at these things. SAP is the all-time winner. It has 85,000 tables in it. So I'm doing everything that they're doing. I'm doing warehouse management. I'm doing financials. I'm doing all that stuff. About 150 tables versus 85,000. You have to think different to leverage this platform. And I think that's the key lesson, I think, for everyone on this. Don't presume that I'm going to take a traditional relational schema and make it work. We do fully normalize everything. We really focus on that, but we really think long and hard about that because the closer you get that to right, you'll get more functionality for less code, and that's the other thing that I keep sticking to. More functionality, less code. You'll get that if you really think about how you leverage the platform.
Yeah, we're leveraging the platform. We have about 20 tables, but there's one thing I can't do in Apex, and that's create a giant zip file. So what do? I leverage the Heroku platform. So we went ahead and built a connected app that uses the APIs that are already there to pull the data attachments down to Heroku, create a giant zip file, and then deliver that zip file for the customer's requirement. So that's one requirement that I couldn't do with Apex. So if you see the limits in Apex and if you think those are going to stop you, you really do have options. You have ways you can parse up the work with batch files. You can parse up the work with queuables. And what we've done for the very largest requirements are build a Heroku connected app to deliver that requirement. So again, all of that's using the platforms that are already there. So just to wrap it up for me, I use the Lightning design system, use the Lightning components, and figure out how your app and how your company is going to use Einstein, because it's not going away, and your app's going to be stickier for it.
And I guess on that point around Lightning, what are some best practices around managing legacy versions of your application while still developing in Lightning?
So we're using Lightning Design System inside Visualforce so that we can deliver both to Classic and to Lightning organizations. As we move forward, we'll continue to build new components in the Lightning component system. But some of our core components we still have to deliver this way, at least until everybody switches to Lightning. So if you guys are all ready to switch to Lightning, then I'm ready to build it. But right now, to ensure that I have full compatibility and one code base, I'm still building with the Lightning Design System on Visualforce pages.
And the reality is that as you move to Lightning, just like in Classic, there's a lot of different technologies that you can leverage. You can have Visualforce, you can have standard pages, you can add your own UI components and those kinds of things in a Visualforce environment. As you go to Lightning, there's a lot of different ways of doing and addressing this as well. So it is something where I think the best approach is to really understand what's available. Remember that it's not only look and feel with Lightning Design System and styling and getting your pages to look right. It's also components, which is basically the new component stack for Lightning components, and those have really progressed incredibly over the last 12 months in terms of what the capabilities are. And like the latest version I looked at was with the shortcut keys, the speed of it is up. It's really amazing what you can achieve with that. The other part of it is then thinking about your strategy for dealing with what things you might have done in Visualforce pages, what things you might have done with your own components, whether that be like Angular. We use a lot of Kendo. Some people use React. I think you're using React. And how you can get that into Lightning components, Lightning frameworks, and do that to deliver a Visualforce page. So it's not a full, simple, one-size-fits-all, but it's a rich enough environment today that you can chart out how you would either get started with that, where you can actually just start with Lightning apps, start with Lightning components, or if you already have a rich set of Visualforce pages, start thinking about how you can migrate that, how you can wrap things so that you can present things either in a Lightning context or in a Visualforce. But there is a way to do that. But you do need to understand what the toolkit is.
Yeah, I'd love to get some audience questions as well. Do we have time for that?
Perfect. I think
perfect.
you made the transition for me. We're moving to Q&A, and
That's
we have a few minutes.
That's always exciting for me. What are you guys thinking about when you're thinking about the platform and building apps? Question.
So, you guys are experienced and have worked with Salesforce for a long time, but for someone newer, how do you work with Salesforce?
The question is, how do you work with Salesforce? And I think you're in the right place. So I would attend these conferences, and I would also do the Trailhead. So are you a developer, or do you have an app that you just signed to build? Consulting partner. So it's a very rich ecosystem. So I think you'll find a lot of business here, and educating yourself on what's there and what's changing. I walked through the hall today, and there were 2 new APIs that I hadn't seen. So it's pretty amazing. So yeah, you've got to attend these conferences, learn, do the Trailhead badges. And it's a great discovery path. And then you can connect with the system, the ecosystem. You can also connect with the incubator. Attend events at the incubator. So they have open public events. And you can go there and you can start to network with those things. There's also a user group. Daniel here leads a user group in the Bay Area. So ask him when the next user group is. Attend that. Learn how other consulting partners are actually. So let the community be a leverage for you.
I would add to that. I'd say it's a lot easier today than it was 5 years ago. I mean, it's amazing how much material comes out now, and they have, if you sign up as an implementation partner, there's a lot of different things that you get on a periodic basis. There's great webinars that happen. It's just sort of like a what's new every month. So Salesforce has done an amazing job making it a lot easier to get access to information. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but it's gotten a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta go learn more about the new UI API. I that just blew me away. So,
Great.
any more
other,
questions?
Yeah, any other questions?
Question.
So all the benefits with the platform, everything, sometimes there's like cost of like managing upgrades, managed packages. If you have a managed package that was created 10 years ago, it may still be solving problems that now Salesforce 4 solves. So like, just talk about your approach to managing kind of legacy code as a managed package on the application with Salesforce.
So the question is about managing legacy packages.
Like, yeah, like deprecating features.
Yeah, deprecating features. So,
It's gotten so much better because you didn't used to be able to do that, and we actually do deprecate fields on a regular basis. We do upgrade things. We do migration scripts. I would say one of the areas that is a little bit of a challenge is packaging migration scripts and packaging and some of those kinds of things. We've done some work on our own to build some capabilities to make that easier. Now, we're not like a massive engineering team, so don't think I've got like 5 guys that do that. I've got maybe a half a person that works on that to actually do those things. But, you know, it used to be impossible. Now you can do it. And we routinely, I think in every single release of our product, there's some things we deprecate, there's some things that we upgrade, there's some things that we change every single time. So I won't say it's like easy, but it's doable, and we manage that process.
yeah, there's a new metadata API in Apex which allows you to begin to make changes. So your package, when it's installed, can actually make metadata changes into the customer's org. You can use that for a post-install script to help fix layouts and read and update layouts. Today, it's limited to layouts, but it's an API that they're bringing the metadata API all the way into Apex. So I think that's a big leverage point for old packages. But you do have to upgrade your version numbers to take advantage of that. So you do have the burden of testing your app again. But I found that the security review process actually makes my app stronger. So I continue to resubmit my app to the security process because I learn what they're testing for and how it can make my app stronger and more secure. So I hope I've answered your question. It's not an easy one.
No.
All right.
Great.
Yeah.
So, and kind of along those lines, have you ever considered rebuilding your app from the ground up? Has there ever been anything?
Well, that's funny. When I started at Canandy, we faced that dilemma. We had a 2.0 app, and we did decide to start over and build a 3.0 app, and I think it was well worthwhile. But since then, with the ability to delete objects and delete fields, we wouldn't have to do that again. I wouldn't have to do that ever again. So the good news is it's possible. You can avoid that fate. You know, when we started 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that wasn't possible.
Version 2, we did a version 3. After Ron left, we actually did a version 4.
Oh, no, don't tell me.
But since version 4, we've kept it stable. We've been very active in going through.
Yeah.
We've been very active in going through the schema, identifying things where we go, hey, we didn't quite get this right. Here's what we need to do different. And like Ron said, the metadata APIs definitely make it easier for us to automate that upgrade process. And you know, I always say we're not perfect, but it's gotten a lot better.
There is one thing you can do, you know, this is technically possible. Because the 2 versions have different namespaces, you can install both versions of the app in one org and then do a data migration straight across. So that's a lot of service work, but it can certainly be done, and potentially you could automate some of that as well. So you know, you're not really locked in. You just have to be creative. All right.
Great.
Any more questions? If not, we'll come up and we'll answer individual questions as well. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you guys here today, and enjoy the Trailhead Show and learn all you can, because they just keep building new stuff for us
Yeah.
to
Ron
play
and
with.
Rod, thank you so much for joining us.